Hebrews 11, verse 8. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. By faith, he made his home in the promised land like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs with him of the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and builder is God. And by faith, even Sarah, who was past childbearing age, was enabled to bear children, because she considered him faithful who had made the promise. And so from this one man, and he as good as dead, came descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as countless as the sand on the seashore. I love that it says here, and by faith, even Sarah, who was past childbearing age, was enabled to bear children because she considered him faithful who had made the promise. That she was enabled because she considered him faithful who had made the promise. How can you receive something you don't even believe in? You just can't. How do you receive it? You can't receive it. God has made me unyielding in this situation. Unyielding. Like I know that he is going to fulfill this. There's no way that he won't. There's no way, based on who he says he is, what he has done, the fruit that he's borne, the places that he's taken me. He pulled me up from death. Like physical death and spiritual death, to understanding, to wisdom that I don't hear coming out of anyone's mouth, to an offering that I would never in my life have chosen to give. I mean, let's be honest. He moved me to let go of 3 careers, to give away all my cash. Who does that, guys? Come on. He said it's hard for a rich man to get into the kingdom of heaven. It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. And yet he gave me wealth, made me a rich woman, and then did all this with me, sitting here waiting, like, I don't have enough money to live on, but you're going to do something. That's a miracle. That's a miracle in and of itself. Like, it's far more difficult to do all of that, to build me into what he has built me into, than to do what he's going to do right now and reveal his glory to the body. And I know it's his will. I know that it's his will because he wants you to know that he's God and he wants you to know who are his. How could he not? There's no way. I mean, if he can't do something so simple, this is a simple thing for the Lord. If he can't do something so simple, then it would really sort of profane his name. It would really sort of debunk who he has said he is, that he is faithful and that he does not forget those nursing at the breast. Genesis chapter 22. Sometime later, God tested Abraham. He said to Abraham, "Here I am," he replied. Then God said, "Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you." Early the next morning, Abraham got up and loaded his donkey. He took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. When he had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out for the place God had told him about. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. He said to his servants, "Stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac. And he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the 2 of them went on together, Isaac spoke up and said to his father, Abraham, "Father?" "Yes, my son," Abraham replied. "The fire and the wood are here," Isaac said, "but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the 2 of them went on together. When they reached the place God had told him about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." "Here I am," he replied. "Do not lay a hand on the boy," he said. "Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." Abraham looked up, and there in the thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called that place, "The Lord will provide." And to this day it is said, "On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided." We need to be saying that same thing, right? On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. You just got to make sure you're on that mountain. You got to make sure that you are in Mount Zion, that you are on this mountain, and it will be provided. The angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a second time and said, "I swear by myself, declares the Lord, that because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies, and through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed me. Then Abraham returned to his servants, and they sent off together for Beersheba, and Abraham stayed in Beersheba. One thing I'm thinking about here, and we're going to read it in a minute, in Genesis 17, is when Sarah was told that she was going to have a son, and now, he was given that son, and then he was told to sacrifice that son, right? And now Abraham is being told, your children are going to be as numerous as the stars in the sky, so that if you could count the stars in the sky, you could count your children. Like, what? Is Sarah going to bear that many children? Abraham didn't question it. Okay, Lord. Okay. He heard it. He believed it. Genesis 17. When Abraham was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, I am God Almighty. Walk before me faithfully and be blameless. Then I will make my covenant between me and you, and will greatly increase your numbers. Abraham fell face down, and God said to him, as for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be the father of many nations. No longer will you be called Abram. Your name will be Abraham. Okay, Abram means exalted father. Abraham means father of many, or probably means father of many, is what the footnote says. For I've made you a father of many nations. I will make you very fruitful. I will make nations of you, and kings will come from you. I will establish my covenant as an everlasting covenant between me and you and your descendants after you for the generations to come, to be your God and the God of your descendants after you. The whole land of Canaan, where you now reside as a foreigner, I will give as an everlasting possession to you and your descendants after you, and I will be their God. Then God said to Abraham, as for you, you must keep my covenant, you and your descendants after you, for the generations to come. This is my covenant with you and your descendants after you, the covenant you are to keep. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You are to undergo circumcision, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and you. For the generations to come, every male among you who is 8 days old must be circumcised, including those born in your household or bought with money from a foreigner, those who are not your offspring. Whether born in your household or bought with your money, they must be circumcised. My covenant in your flesh is to be an everlasting covenant. Any uncircumcised male who has not been circumcised in the flesh will be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. God also said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your wife, you are no longer to call her Sarai. Her name will be Sarah. I will bless her and will surely give you a son by her. I will bless her so that she will be the mother of nations. Kings of peoples will come from her. Abraham fell face down. He laughed and said to himself, will a son really be born to a man 100 years old? Will Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? And Abraham said to God, if only Ishmael might live under your blessing. Then God said, yes, but your wife Sarai will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will surely bless him. By the way, Ishmael, who are the descendants of Ishmael? Muslims, guys. Okay, so stop it with that. Stop it with the counterfeit Christianity that Ishmael is somehow cursed. He was also a son of Abraham. God said, I will surely bless him. I will make him fruitful and will increase his numbers. He will be the father of 12 rulers, and I will make him into a great nation. Stop it. There is a reason why God has moved me to have this kind of a heart for Muslims, for people in Islam. I know that I am from God. I know what he tells me and how he moves me. If you don't have that, I have concern for you because you are not discerning this. You're running by your own understanding. In verse 21, he says, but my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you by this time next year. When he had finished speaking with Abraham, God went up from him. Now, let me just pause for a minute. I want to talk about this issue. The covenant comes through Isaac, but Ishmael is also blessed. How do you reconcile that? Isaac and Ishmael were not enemies later on in life. The covenant comes through Isaac, but Ishmael is loved and blessed by God. He is the father of 12 and is made into a great nation. He is part of the children of Abraham. What is wrong with counterfeit Christianity? Why do they disregard this? They would rather believe that an ethnic nation that is committing the same atrocities that were done to them in Germany, they go and worship them. What's the matter with them? This makes no sense. It makes no sense. We're reading it right from the Word of God. Verse 23, On that very day, Abraham took his son Ishmael and all those born in his household or bought with his money, every male in his household, and circumcised them as God told him. Also, Ishmael, Muslims worship the same God all of us worship. Jews, Christians, and Muslims worship the same God. Allah in Arabic is God. That's all it is. It's God in Arabic. Stop being dense. There are people such as the Samaritans who Christ said were misinformed. They didn't know what God they worshiped. But these are people, many of these, I won't say all of them, just like many Christians, not all of them. Few actually in comparison to the ones who are false. Few Jews in comparison to the ones that are false are actually worshiping God in truth. And they're being slammed and shut down by their own people. Everyone has believed in falsehood. Who is puffed up here? Like, who has a right to be puffed up? I would like to know. I believed in falsehood. God's still pulling falsehood out of me. Are you better? God has the ability to bring his people to him. And the word is the authority. And the word says Ishmael will be blessed. God honored the desire of Abraham for Ishmael to be blessed. He also is loved. The descendants of Ishmael are also loved and blessed. Salvation came through the Jews, through Jesus Christ. The covenant came through Isaac. And yet, what did John the Baptist say? Don't tell me that you are sons of Abraham. God can make sons of Abraham through stones. He can raise up stones as children for Abraham. Verse 24, Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised, and his son Ishmael was 13. Abraham and his son Ishmael were both circumcised on that very day. So Ishmael is included in the covenant of circumcision. Interesting. And every male in Abraham's household, including those born in his household or bought from a foreigner, was circumcised with him. Okay, so what did Abraham believe? He believed that he would inherit land. He believed that he would have children as numerous as the stars in the sky. He, lived as one who believed that. He moved into that land that he was told that he was going to inherit, even though he didn't while he was alive, but he moved there with his kids and lived in tents in a land where he was a foreigner based on a promise that was made by God. He believed in that promise. He believed that he, at 100 years old, would father a child from his 90-year-old wife who was never able in 90 years to conceive. Okay? Is he defying everything that we think we know, everything we think we know in science? These are the foolish things of the world. Is it a foolish thing of the world to think, to believe that even as I sit here now, and will very soon not have enough money to live if that building doesn't sell and God does not perform some sort of miracle? Is it a foolish thing for me to continue to believe? To the world, it's foolish. But God is going to reveal his glory. And because I believe, he wants to reveal that glory. He wants to perform miracles for those who love him and believe him. Please discern with God.